Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here, and you voted. And I gotta say, calculating the winner was a little bit annoying. Most of you didn't really follow my directions in thumbs upping and leaving a comment, so I just counted comments. You came to a fairly clear consensus. There were a few episodes that got quite a few votes, Apple Thief being one of them. But the one that you all chose, or should I say the two that you all chose, is the two-parter, Finn the Human, Jake the Dog. Technically, it's kind of a three-parter from The Lich, but since those two episodes were aired together, and The Lich kind of leads up into the other episodes, and these episodes are more connected than they are to The Lich. The Lich is a setup to these two episodes. I'm gonna consider these two episodes to be the worst as voted by you guys. Combined, it got a total of 13 votes, with 2 specifically for Jake the Dog and 1 for Finn the Human. But before I begin talking about the episode, I wanted to quote someone who made a really cool comment. His or her username is Zig the Hunter, and I'm going to paraphrase here, but Zig says, "I love Adventure Time, for how diverse it could be in its appeal and genres. They have a mix of action, comedy, romance, weirdness, and adventure all intermixed. But therein lies the problem. While there are episodes I love, there are also episodes I can't stand. But I don't know if it's because they're bad or just not for me." Zig brings up a good point here. Adventure Time does do a lot of different things in different episodes. And what I like about the show is that it is very good at keeping some of the more focused stuff separate. For instance, a lot of you don't like Flame Princess. A lot of you don't like her episodes. And I like her. I find her to be perfectly fine. I find her to be a good love interest. But I can understand why people wouldn't like her. And the thing about it is she only appears in the episodes that's focused on her romance with Finn. And it's only been like 4 episodes. She doesn't appear as a side character in any other episodes so far. I'm sure she will at some point, but she's not invading the show with her love interestness. It's not like the show has changed because of her. Some people say that the show changed after that episode. Maybe so. Maybe that's just that season, but it's not because of her, and it's not because of the first episode she appears in. I don't think it's a bad episode. I just think if you're not into the romance stuff, or you're not into seeing Finn develop more as a character, you won't be interested in it, and that's perfectly fine. It's tougher for a show like Adventure Time to go into the romance. I would say that's the hardest one for it to pull off, although I feel like it does it appropriately for the age group that it's aimed at. And yeah, not every episode is going to have an adventure in it. Some of them are much more mundane, and you could only like the adventure episodes, and you could only like the quieter episodes. I reviewed Jake the Dad, and that's definitely one of the more mundane episodes. But enough about analyzing Adventure Time as a series. Let's analyze these 2 episodes. I'm going to start with a very brief overview of the Lich. Basically, Finn gets a dream that the Lich is on the loose and causing trouble. So they go to Billy, who is their hero, and Billy tells them that they need to go collect some gems. The 3 of them go collect some gems from all the different princesses. Yeah, that's why they wear them in their crowns. And also the Ice King. Guess he's a princess too. And he also reveals that the Enchiridion has a secret compartment where you can put all these gems. And when you put them in there, this sort of map to the multiverse unfolds, and you can travel to different universes and whatnot. Plot twist, and spoiler alert, Billy is actually the Lich in disguise, and the episode ends with the Lich pulling Finn and Jake into a different universe through a wormhole. Well, the very final seconds of the episode, we see Finn and Jake in this weird universe with this weird art style, and Finn has a robotic arm, and his mother calls for him. Yeah, and that was the end of the season. Luckily, seasons for Adventure Time means give it a month and it'll be back. And sure enough, it was only a few weeks before we got to see the conclusion. I mention this because it's very important to how people perceive these episodes. See, when you see a crazy image for a split second at the end of a season finale, and you know you're going to have to wait a few weeks for the conclusion to find out what this universe is, what's going on, why Finn looks so weird, why he has a metal arm. Is that his mother? Is this the past? Is this the future? What is this? It's a great ending because you want to come back and find out what on earth is going on. So a lot of people were very excited for the Finn the Human, Jake the Dog 2-parter. And I think that's why it got voted what it got voted. I don't necessarily think it is the worst episode on its own merits, but I do agree that it wasn't as epic as it really should have been. Also, they do a few weird things that kind of rubbed me and a few other people the wrong way. So, without further deliberation, let's jump into a wormhole to another universe where I'm reviewing Finn the Human and Jake the Dog. So we begin with Finn and Jake chasing the Lich through the portal. They see him enter this room and go after him. They catch him right when he's laughing and disappears. Prismo, who is this pink shadow-like thing that lives within the walls of this room, tells them that he granted the Lich's wish for the extinction of all life. Finn's freaking out at this point, but Prismo tells them that they're fine because they exist in this alternate universe thing. Finn and Jake find out that they also get wishes, and when they make their wish, they'll go out of the time room themselves. Jake goes to make a wish, but Finn is actually smart about it and says we need to be extra careful about how we word this. Finn wishes that the Lich never existed. Finn's then transported to this weird universe where everything's a more realistic style of animation, and it's a little bit steampunky. We're just gonna call it Farm World. All at once, we're bombarded with some weirdness. Finn's mom tells him rather dramatically that he has to sell the family's mule. By the way, Jake is a normal dog here, and the humans are stylized to look more realistic, i.e. they have noses, even though Finn has a metal arm. So it's a little bit weird that it's not quite the past, but it's a little bit like the past, but it's also steampunky. Oh, I should also mention that Finn looks like he did in the mirror in the episode King Worm when he's in his dream. What that signifies? I don't know, maybe his dreams can tell the future or something. And I do believe he's holding that fiddle from the very first Ice King episode. On their way to sell the mule, Finn and Jake come across the Ice King's skeleton. You know it's him because he's got his crown, although he has Simon's glasses on, which is underneath a frozen nuclear bomb. We also find an old banshee woman, who we find out is actually Marceline. I guess she didn't get bitten by a vampire, so she's not, like, eternally youthful. And she tells Finn that Simon, her old friend, saved the world from the nuclear bomb by freezing it, but it cost him his life. His crown, grieving the loss of him, turned the world to ice for 400 years, but Finn doesn't believe it because his daddy tells him that there's no such thing as magic. Finn wants to steal the Ice King's crown so that he doesn't have to sell his donkey, but when he tries to take it, Marceline shoots him. But the gun is only a light ray, so it doesn't hurt him. He takes the crown and runs away. Marceline, and this is where we find out she's Marceline, by the way, is told by the Ice King, either in her imagination or through some magic, that she needs to go and get the crown back. And at this point in the episode, let me just say, it's so far done really well. It's got a fairly serious tone to it that it holds up through this point. Yeah, there's a few goofy things, like the donkey looks a little bit derpy and stuff, but most of the jokes here come from the revelation that this is Marceline, or, that this is what happened to the Ice King. And Marceline imagining the Ice King to be saying things to her, stuff that the Ice King would have ordinarily said. I like that the humor is coming from the stuff that we know from Adventure Time, seeping through this really serious, dramatic, strange, bizarre plot. So Finn tries to sell the crown in town, but then it gets stolen from him by the Destiny Gang. Yeah, we see them earlier picking on Finn's dad, but here's where we're really introduced to them. They're the bad guys of the special. I hate them. And not in the way that you're supposed to hate villains. Honestly, they are just really annoying. And I guess they're designed to be annoying, but even still, they're not funny annoying like Lemongrab. They talk in a way that is incredibly irritating. They act like complete jerk faces. Not in the fun way. In the cruel way. And they're not intimidating. Yeah, they have goofy hair, and the one guy wears sunglasses, and they got weird names. Like, they're not very intimidating villains. Stylistically, I don't like the way they look. I think they could have looked a lot cooler. I think they could have designed a lot cooler villains for this. Considering the Lich is actually end up being the villain of these two episodes, seeing as we see him at the very beginning and the very end. He disappears for the rest of it, which is understandable due to part of the plot, but I mean, come on, if you're gonna have a bad guy or a bad gang in the episode, at least give us something here. Maybe make them look like some characters from Adventure Time that we know. Or just design cool new characters. Heck, you did a good job with Prismo, and we'll get to that later. So the gang picks on Finn, steals his crown, the leader puts the crown in his pants, and runs off. Well, actually, he holds onto this conveyor belt thing where it takes him up to his mountain fort or something like that. The other guys stick around, and Finn defeats one of them with the power of flute eye inflation. And then Choose Goose, or a guy who looks a lot like Choose Goose and talks exactly like Choose Goose, comes in and throws a cabbage. And hey, that's another clever reference right there. But that's where it ends. I don't know why the other characters aren't analogs of characters from the show. I mean, maybe there's some references here that I'm missing, and these guys are actually related to Lemongrab or something like that. But more shoutouts like that would have been appreciated. It provided a nice moment of comedy and someone familiar for the audience to say, hey, I know who that is, even though he hasn't appeared since season 2. Also, Finn's last name is Mertens. Oh, and before they left, the gang also pushed over Marceline, which is really sad considering how elderly and feeble she is. Finn goes and comforts her, and she makes him promise to bring the crown back to her. Choose Bruce. That's his name. It gives Finn a sword attachment for his arm, and Finn says it feels natural like peeing outside. See? There's some funny jokes right there. Aside from that gang, it hasn't been such a bad episode so far. I mean, yeah, nothing epic has happened, and the gang is really obnoxious, but overall, it's been pretty good. So now, Finn's all motivated to go right up that mountain and kick the crap out of everyone there. So he goes up, runs inside, and only finds the leader, who gives him the crown and says, it'll be your last possession. He tells Finn to look outside, and the gang set the town on fire, which I don't even know how that works, considering we saw Finn get up there and then just run right in the house, so even though the guys were up on the base, how did they get down without Finn seeing them? Whatever. Minor logistics nitpick. Anyway, the town's on fire, and that's kind of a bad thing. What could ruin this awesome moment of villainy? The leader gang member talking as if he's like a pro wrestler. I mean, seriously, he couldn't have some better rub-it-in speech than just like, I will crush you, I crush your family, I crush your town. Like, you couldn't have given him some better writing here? I mean, come on. I'm sorry, but this guy and his gang really just rubbed me the wrong way. There could have been so many better villains. Finn rides his donkey out the door, then uses his arm to slide down the railing all the way down the mountain in a really cool sequence. The animation here is top-notch, and the way the camera rotates perspective-wise, it's really cool. And the fire looks great too. When he gets to town, Choose Bruce tells him that the gang headed off towards his family's house. So he continues riding on his mule, where he passes Marceline, who tries to tell him something, but he just picks her up and takes her with him, in yet another example of the awesome animation, and a kind of funny moment in all of this seriousness going on. When Finn gets to his home, he finds his house is on fire, with his parents and baby sibling inside. The gang is chanting Destiny, Destiny, and Finn is only left with one choice. He asks Marceline if the crown's really magical. She says yeah, and he puts it on. His eyes glow with power. Cue end of episode. Fortunately, the other episode premiered right back to back. Unfortunately for you guys, I'm splitting this review into 2 parts. So, what did I think of Finn the Human? I thought it was pretty good, actually. The villains, yeah, they're really lame and really annoying, but this universe that they set up is really intriguing. You wonder how it relates to the Adventure Time universe as a whole. I mean, the Lich is implied to be caused by the nuclear bomb, and because it didn't go off, the Lich is no more. So, is this what the world would have been like without the Mushroom War, or is some effects of the Mushroom War still in place? It's a little bit weird when you think about it. Is this actually what Finn's parents look like? Or are his parents completely different people because the Lich never existed, and therefore maybe the Mushroom War didn't completely happen? Or maybe part of it did, part of it didn't? It's also confusing as to if it was just the Lich not existing as the difference in this world. I mean, for all we know, Prismo could be wrong, and this could just be some random universe where the Lich doesn't exist and other things are changed. But I guess there's no real answer as of yet, so I could debate it till I'm blue in the face. So yeah, the episode has a lot of suspense and mystery. You really don't know what's coming at you next. There were a few good reveals, like the fact that that was Marceline, the fact that the Ice King was the one that stopped the bomb, the fact that the villain was so horrible that he tried to burn down Finn's house with his family inside of it. And that's where it cuts off for commercial. It kept me on the edge of my seat during this special. And that's great! Adventure Time doesn't always have to be ridiculously funny, although I still say that this had some really good funny moments, although it was definitely toned back. I like the serious nature of it, but I felt like it was also a little bit rushed. But I guess that's kind of how it has to be, because the second part, well, it's a little bit different. But that's all I got for you right now, so come back soon for my review of Jake the Dog. Pie Guy Rules, out. Hey guys, don't forget to subscribe if you like me, like this video if you, well, like this video, and comment if you have an opinion on anything that I just said. Oh, and I also have a Twitter. Follow me at PieGuyRules. I usually respond to any comments or questions that I get. PieGuyRules, out.